Good afternoon, Mr. Young.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm okay. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
All right. How we sound? We sound all right right now?
Yeah, right now everything sounds good.
Okay. What I did, I turned down my other on my second screen. I turned the sound down. So that let's just see how it goes this evening.
Okay.
And if you hit any noise, just cut me off because sometimes I forget to have to keep cutting it off and on. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
So everybody can come on up. All right, Mr. Young, could you start the recording, please? Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are convening and broadcasting this public, hold on, I have the wrong statement open, naturally. 1 second. All right, let's go to take 2. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are convening and broadcasting this public hearing by video conferencing. My name is Anthony Hood. I'm joined by Vice Chair Miller, Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Ema Moore, and Commissioner Stidham, as well as from the Office of Zoning Staff, Ms. Sharon Shelling, and Mr. Paul Young, Office of Zoning Legal Division, Mr. Jacob Riddick. I will ask all others to introduce themselves at the appropriate time. The virtual public hearing notice is available on the Office of Zoning's website. This proceeding is being recorded by court reporter and is also webcast live via WebEx and YouTube Live. The video will be available on the Office of Zoning's website after the hearing. Accordingly, all those listening on WebEx or by phone will be muted during the hearing, and only those who have signed up to testify will be unmuted at the appropriate time. When called, please state your name before providing your testimony. When you're finished speaking, please mute your audio. If you experience difficulty accessing WebEx or with your telephone call-in, then please call our OZ hotline number at 202-727-0789 to receive WebEx login or call-in instructions, or if you have not signed up to testify. All persons planning to testify must sign up in advance and will be called by name at the appropriate time. At the time of sign-up, all participants will complete the oath or affirmation required by Subtitle Z 408.7. If you wish to file written testimony or additional supporting documents during the hearing, then please be prepared to describe and discuss it at the time of your request when submitting. The subject of this evening's hearing is Zoning Commission Case Number 24-12, Harrison, Wisconsin Owner LLC Consolidated PUD and Related Map Amendment with Square 1666, lots 809, 810, 4201 Garrison Street Northwest. Again, today's date is July the 14th, 2025. From my reviews of the record, it looks like there's a lot of support, especially from those who examine the regulations and making recommendations to us. I would ask that unless my colleagues disagree, I would ask the applicant be brief, hit the highlights, hit the important points, and we'll go from there. Again, the hearing will be conducted in accordance with provisions of 11Z DCMR Chapter 4 as follows: preliminary matters, applicant's case. Applicant has up to 60 minutes, but please keep in mind what I've just mentioned. Report of the Office of Planning and Department of Transportation. First, though, we'll have report of other government agencies. In this case, we'll have the report of ANC, and I believe it's ANC 3E. And then we'll have testimony of organizations and individuals. Organizations 5 minutes, individuals 3 minutes, respectively. We will hear in the order from those who are in support, opposition, and undeclared. Then we'll have rebuttal and closing by the applicant. At this time, does the staff have any preliminary matters?
Very quickly, proffered expert witnesses. Most of them, actually all of them, have been previously accepted except for one. So if the commission would just accept the previously accepted, Sarah Alexander, project architect, Jamie Milanovich in traffic consulting, Brandis Elliott, land use and zoning, Kyle Oliver in planning, and Tim Bragan is the landscape architect. They have all previously been accepted by the commission. If you would accept them in this case by general consensus.
Any objections? Do we have any objections to that status? We will continue that status. Let's go with the one, Michelle.
Okay, and keeping up, I think every hearing we mess up at least one name. So there is one other expert, Sonial Charles. civil engineering at Exhibit 14C, page 10.
Thank you, Michelle. I will have you to know, and I probably shouldn't say this, and I know you don't mind, because that's what I'm gonna say it, but last week, we didn't have any problems with names. But I'll just leave it.
Oh, okay, so because I was on vacation, you didn't have a name problem? Okay,
So
I
let me
got
go,
you.
let me go to my colleagues, and I believe they're being proffered as civil engineer. Sunil, I think I got it right, Sunil Charles. We'll see. All right, let me go to any objections? Do we do civil engineers? I get confused now with that.
Yes,
Okay, I see.
we do.
Mr. want to say, yeah. Any objections? I'll give everybody a moment. I'm looking at heads.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Just give me, I'd like to take one extra minute if that's all right.
Okay, sure, no problem. We'll wait.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It appears as if Mr. Charles here is not in fact licensed yet, though it's in progress, both in the District of Columbia and in Maryland. So I know that he has extensive years of experience here. And I know we often balance both time and practice as well as registration, which is both equally important. And there have been instances in the past where, while somebody may not be licensed, they have met the time requirement or vice versa. So I guess I'm just curious to know how close Mr. Charles is to passing his PE. If that's a question we can ask.
Yeah, let's bring Michelle, can we bring the applicant up to council, and also Mr. Charles? We may have some questions.
Sure, Mr. Young, if you could bring Ms. Shiker up and Mr. Charles.
Chairman Hood, I will easily solve this for you. We are not going to be offering Mr. Charles. We did not believe that there were any civil issues that we needed to do tonight. So we can dispose of this. We do not need to discuss whether or not he would be an expert, but thank you very much.
Okay, I do see that he has a degree and some others. So I was ready to peruse that and go through that, but thank you. We will take that off the agenda for now, but thank you, Commissioner Imamura. Other than that, do we have any other preliminary matters, Michelle?
Just very briefly, Jonathan Bender and/or Tom Quinn will be representing ANC 3E. And their report is at exhibits 38, 38A in support. OP's report at exhibit 35 to approve. DDOT has no objection with some conditions at exhibit 36, and they do have someone here to testify also. We have someone here from the Office of the Attorney General to testify, I believe this evening, and their report in support or to recommending approval at exhibits 34 through 34B and 47. And within the OP report, there is a recommendation and support from DOEE at exhibit 35, page 29. So I will turn this over to the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We appreciate it. Ms. Shiker, before you get started, how do you pronounce Mr. Charles's name? I'm just curious.
It's Sunil.
Okay. Okay, I think I was closer. Anyway,
You were very close.
I was. Thank you. That goes to my point. Just joking.
But he stumbled over Charles.
All right. All right.
So that one was easy and he stumbled. Okay, just saying.
Okay. All right, Ms. Shiker, you may begin.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Hood, members of the commission. My name is Christine Shiker with the law firm of Holland & Knight, representing the applicant, and I'm joined by Chris Cohen and members of our panel. We have a few people, but in the interest of keeping our testimony to the highlights, we will, after I make an opening statement, we will have Jad Donahoe from Donahoe Development Company, who representing the owner, make a brief statement. Sarah Alexander, the architect, will then walk through the project. We will leave Ms. Milanovich for questions that you may have, and we will then go straight to Ms. Elliott to do a high-level review of the comprehensive plan. Mr. Young, could you please bring up our PowerPoint presentation at Exhibit 81? Thank you. If you could go to the next slide. We are here today to present an application for property located at 4201 Garrison Street, which is just east of Wisconsin Avenue in Northwest DC. The requested PUD will permit the development of a residential building on the site of an existing parking lot that houses a 705-foot tall television tower. Next slide, please. The project results in a well-designed infill development containing 126 new residential units, of which 1/3 will be reserved for affordable units. This affordable housing is achieved through a combination of inclusionary zoning units and affordable housing units under the HANTA program. The result is 42 units provided at varying levels of affordability. Specifically, 13 units will be provided through the IZ program at 50% and 60% MFI, with the remaining 29 units reserved for households at or below 80% MFI. In addition to meeting the base IZ requirements, the applicant has committed to providing 2 3-bedroom units, one at 50% MFI and one at 60% MFI. And the applicant has committed to provide more than twice the base square footage required at the 50% MFI level, leading to greater affordability. In addition to that, we also have the commitment of the total 33% of the units. Next slide, please. As part of the PUD, the application requests a related zoning map amendment for Lot 810 and a portion of Lot 809. For this case, the lot configuration and the rezoning deserve just a moment of explanation. I typically wouldn't have a detailed slide, but this is a bit unique. So the square, which is square 1666, is a record lot comprised of 3 A&T lots, and that can be seen in the upper photo. Lot 809 is known as 5151 Wisconsin Avenue, and it's outlined in black in each of the 2 photos. It extends for the full length of Harrison Street and all the way south to Garrison. It has been approved by the Board of Zoning Adjustment in case number 2638 for the construction of a 6-story residential building, approximately 210 units and ground floor retail. Building permits have been issued for this building. As shown in the lower image, the significant majority of Lot 809 is zoned MU4, with only a very small portion shown in light yellow zoned R2. Lot 810 is the more triangular shaped lot, and that is zoned R2. So the application before you today requests a rezoning to RA3 of all of Lot 810 and a very small portion of Lot 809, which lies immediately to the west of Lot 810. The area to be rezoned is shown in dark yellow. The remaining portion of R2 at the top, at the northeast corner, is not being rezoned. This is important because the project only uses density that is generated from this rezoned portion of the site. Again, the portion in dark yellow. That is the RA3 portion, and it results in an FAR of 4.308 based on the lot area of the RA3 portion of the PUD site. The building, however, will be situated across the entirety of the PUD site, which is outlined in red. This allows the project to have a more regular shape and that the density can be spread over a greater area, resulting in more of an apparent FAR of 3.06. Importantly, it also results in a building that steps away from the low density residential areas to the east. Next slide, please. The project complies with the development standards for the RA3 zone. There are only 2 small areas of flexibility that we will touch on and highlight in our testimony by Ms. Alexander. We've also requested a special exception for off-site parking, which allows the garage to extend under that R2 portion of zoning at the very top for the extension of the garage. And we have specifically stated how we meet the standards for that special exception. Next slide, please. The proposed zoning is not inconsistent with the future land use map, which designates the site for moderate density residential and mixed use for medium density residential and moderate density commercial. The rezoning is also not inconsistent with the recently adopted Wisconsin Avenue Development Framework Plans designations. And as Ms. Elliott will discuss, this project furthers many goals of that development framework plan. Next slide, please. We are pleased to have broad support from the DC agencies. In its supportive report, the Office of Planning did request that we provide additional details regarding the sustainability aspects of the project, which we will include in our presentation. DDOT indicated no objection based on two conditions. The applicant will agree to those two conditions, which are set forth on page 2 of the DDOT report. And if there are any questions about that, Ms. Milanovich is happy to answer those, or she can answer any other transportation related questions. Next slide, please. We are also very pleased to have strong support from the community on this project. The ANC voted unanimously to support the project based on an agreed upon MOU. Mr. Donahoe will talk briefly about that and about the very robust community engagement process. As you saw, there are many letters of support in the record. We have over 40 letters of support filed as of this afternoon. But I think it's very important to take a moment to note that we did see a letter from the property owners on the block, the 5100 block of 42nd Street. These are residents immediately across the street. And the applicant has met many times with nearby neighbors, including residents from this block, during the community outreach process that spanned over 18 months. However, this letter that was filed yesterday is the first time we've seen this specific list of questions, although many of these issues have been resolved through other formats. So we've revised our presentation just to make sure we answer all of those questions and ensure that we are addressing those concerns, as I believe that the neighbors will be here and that will help them. So with that, I would pass it off to Mr. Donahoe to talk briefly about the community engagement, and then we'll go to Ms. Alexander. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scheicher. Do you know what exhibit number that is? I must have missed that.
It's exhibit 80.
Okay. Well,
and it's called Witness Testimony of Immediately Adjacent Homeowners. And they listed a variety of questions at the end of it. So we're going to answer the significant majority, if not all of those questions through our testimony today.
Okay, I see it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Christy. My name's Jad Donahoe on behalf of the applicant and on behalf of the Donahoe Companies. Donahoe Companies is a company that's been in Washington, D.C., actually founded in Washington in 1884 as a real estate company. We've been an owner, continuously been an owner of property here in Friendship Heights for more than 50 years. We are a builder, we are a developer, we are a manager of residential properties. We've had extensive engagement on this. Let's go ahead and skip to the next slide if we could. This is a sample of some of the community engagement that we've done on this property over the last 7 years. In fact, engagement in particular with the ANC goes back even further than that. I'd like to thank the ANC at this moment for that engagement. And in fact, over the last more than 10 years, almost 15 years, we've had the same two commissioners who have been SMD and chair for us over that period of time. And that kind of continuity has been really, really helpful in getting feedback and learning more about how we can meet issues of community interest. So yeah, this is a representative list of some of our meetings with individuals and with organizations. If we can skip to the next slide, please. In particular, we have earned the unanimous support by resolution of our ANC. We've also signed a memorandum of understanding with them. I believe that has been submitted both in a first version and then as a signed and countersigned version. Among the various things, I'm not going to go through everything on the slide, but the affordable housing is perhaps one of the two signature proffers for this project. 1/3 of all units in the project are going to be designated at various levels of affordability, 50%, 60%, and 80%. And that is a product of conversations that we had with Office of Planning, but then intensive negotiations that we also had with the ANC and with DHCD about that. As you'll learn, part of that affordable housing component is through what's called the HANTA program that DHCD has come up with, as well as other interested groups. In addition, the ANC and others have weighed in very carefully on other issues, including design features of the building and transportation commitments for the operation of the project. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. In addition, there's further parts that are that were part of proffers for that, including improvements to nearby Fessenden Park through an agreement with DPR, where we will provide 2 bocce courts, additional landscaping and the like as part of that. Installation of street trees all around. And then this is one of the bullet points on here, but perhaps the other true signature proffer of this project, a proffer that really no other project would have been able to offer. It's the removal of that TV tower that we'll talk more about on the site there, that 705-foot tall TV tower, the second tallest structure in Washington, D.C. after another tower over on Georgia Ave. So those being the two things that people have almost universally expressed interest in: affordable housing and the removal of that TV tower, and then various construction related commitments. Next slide, please. This in a somewhat different format lays out a few more of the different proffers and amenities that the project provides. Again, I won't try to go through all, but there's massing that we'll talk about more in the architecture piece that we consider to be very important to the project, and about how we step down from Wisconsin Avenue. Site planning speaks to that as well, keeping all those truck turns off site, rather off of the city streets and the like. And then the affordable housing component, which includes both the IZ at 50 and 60%, in excess of what is otherwise required as IZ for projects, providing more at 50%, and then also providing enough additional units that we are also able to provide up a full 1/3 of the units as affordable units. And then various environmental and sustainability features that were important to both residents and to the ANC, including all electric in units and green roofs, solar, etc. I think we can move ahead to the next slide. Thanks. Most of these are things that are otherwise addressed in the MOU, so I'll go ahead and let's move on to the next piece. And now I'll turn it over to our architect, Sarah Alexander.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. Well, as you can see here, this is our site in context. We paid a lot of attention to the neighborhood and the surrounding area when we were designing this building. It is in that unique site where it's a transition between the commercial corridor on Wisconsin Avenue and the single-family homes to our east. So we wanted to make sure that our building addressed that transition in a sensitive way. To our west, we do have the 5151 permitted building, which is a 6-story building plus penthouse, and then the 5101 5-story office building. And then to our north and east, there's primarily 2 to 3-story residential homes. And to our south, they're a little bit taller, 3 to 3.5-story, some adjacent condo townhouse style homes. So all of that comprising, there is institutional use of the Church of St. Louis directly to our east as well, but primarily single-family homes. So making sure the massing of our building was respectful of that as we go through, you'll see how we did that. Next slide, please. So this is standing on 42nd, looking toward the north. Our project is the 4 different colored facades, as you see marching up the hill. We did that intentionally when we wanted to seem like it wasn't one large building descending upon the neighborhood, but instead inspired by the Wardman historical style you'll find throughout DC, a series of smaller, more sensitively scaled buildings that knit together and enter the neighborhood in a really sensitive way. So some of the things we use that would help it even further break down the scale are the element of the roof, which brings down that apparent height. The brackets, the detailing, the horizontal banding, the bays, which you can see drop the building an additional story. And then just the character of the proportion of the windows, they're very residential in nature. It's an all glass building or something that would really be jarring in this residential context. It's something that really does seem like it was intentionally placed here. We also see how by doing these individual pavilions with the bays and the smaller increments, that rhythm of the building heights and the building elements is sympathetic to the rhythm of the 5 residential and the church across the street on 42nd. So it's not creating a wall on that street. The original plan that was in the Office of Planning report did have a more U-shaped building with the courtyard facing towards the west, which would have actually separated the other property owned by Mr. Donahoe a little bit more and given a little more light and air to that building. But it was decided that instead of doing that approach, we would create the courtyards facing 42nd so that that light and air would better be able to access to the adjacent homes. And we would concentrate our height and our penthouse height and everything on the western side, which you'll see as we move forward. There is 15-foot change in grade, which you can see in this image as you go from Garrison up to Harrison. And that is important when you're seeing the relative elements of the building. So you'll see that as we move through. Next slide, please. So here you're standing on Harrison Street, looking towards the west. Just on the little right-hand side, you can see a bit of 5151. That's the permitted building, the gray piece there. Slightly taller than our project here. And you can see because of that 15-foot change in grade, we've really gone from what appeared to be a 5-story building to really a 3.5-story building with the penthouse beyond. So having that building kind of nest into the hillside that way. We're still employing the same devices you saw on the previous slide of the roofs, the bays, the brackets, the horizontal banding, the individual elements all breaking down that building into a smaller increments in a more residential style. So that continues up on this side as well. Here we did employ balconies in addition, facing the north and that larger setback that we have on the north. Next, please. So this is a garage level and residential lobby level. The reason it kind of looks dark and hazy on the top is that's the building kind of going into the hillside. So where you see that darker color is where it goes below grade. So we are fully exposed on the very southern portion, and it pretty much immediately starts to dive into the hillside from Garrison as it moves up 42nd. But we did want to make sure we activated Garrison. And so we did locate our lobby entry and our amenities on that street so that you could really start to bring some activity to that street. We made sure the garage is fully below grade, you'll see that. And our loading and trash and garage entry are all off of the private drive, which is north-south immediate to the west of our building. And that pulls off of the private drive that was established with the permitting of 5101. So they're a shared private drive.
Ms. Alexander, hold tight for a second. Let me ask my colleagues, is anybody having a problem hearing her, or are we okay? Are you all having a problem hearing her? Okay. All right, you can keep going.
I can speak louder if you're having a problem.
No, it's a lady. You got it very well hooked up. No, you're good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so we are providing 82 parking spaces, 42 bike parking spaces, And of those bike parking spaces, we are providing the larger size for the e-bikes as well. Next, please. So here you can see our really first level that's completely above grade. So you have the individual 4 pavilions. You have the 126 all-electric units. So they're all of the energy is electrical for all of those units. We have a mixture of junior 1s through 3 bedrooms. So we are offering some of the larger 3-bedroom type units, which we've heard is a high demand in just in general in the city. You can see the adjacent context of those 5 residential and the church being the southernmost on that 42nd Street, east side of 42nd Street. How we on our 4 pavilions help to emulate that rhythm. And I think that's really it for this one. Thank you. And then our penthouse level. I think this pretty clearly shows how we have concentrated the height on that western portion of the site. It is due to the setbacks. That's what I skipped over. On the north side, we have a 21-foot setback from the property line adjacent to Harrison. On the eastern side, we have a 15-foot setback on 42nd. And on the southern side, there's a wider right-of-way and then a setback across the street. So with all of that, we're about an average of 90 feet away from any of our adjacent buildings, just to our building face. And then beyond that, we have set back 28 feet from the northern side to our penthouse, 36 feet from the edge of our building, plus that 15 feet. So really about 50 feet from our property line to our penthouse from the 42nd Street side, and then another 18 feet from the south. So again, pulling that height as far as we could away from the adjacent neighbors to make sure that we were able to be as sensitive as we could. That did result in us asking for relief on the western side because we were not showing a setback there at all. But that's the side that abuts our permitted 5151 residential commercial building and the adjacent office building. So we felt the height being generated in that location was the best location for the height. There is a small amenity and rooftop terrace on the southern portion, the southern pavilion, which you can see here in yellow in that little kind of white hatched area. And that would provide some amenity space for the residents. It will be restricted for use after 10 p.m. So should not be disruptive to anyone in the neighborhood. And there are green roof shown in all locations possible as one of our sustainability measures. Next, please. And here you can see a little bit more of our upper roof plan with the green roof in all locations possible. Next. So this is really taking that rendering you saw and showing you the elevation of it. So you can see those 4 individual pavilions, each with their own character, but respectful of each other and harmonious, we feel like, in their design with each other. We have employed, like I mentioned before, the bays, the varied facade design, the pavilions. We have shown entry stoops for the units along the street so we can activate the street. There's also a connection between the courtyards, which are for residential use, and the street, but there's a connection there. But that allows the project to really articulate itself along that streetscape in a way we feel is really appropriate for the context and neighborhood. You can also see the changing grade across the site. In terms of the building height measuring point, this is important. One of the concerns we heard was regarding the building height measuring, or the building height. We have measured our building at the middle of this facade to the top of the screen, the middle of that frontage on 42nd. So the 50'3" is measured from the grade at the middle of that frontage. And then that's penthouse is obviously in addition to that, but set back, as I mentioned previously. On the bottom of the slide, you see the private drive facade. So that really is facing the buildings immediately to the adjacent alley, but we did make sure to wrap the facade character a good distance back on either corner so that that building will feel as a complete building when viewed from the street. Next slide, please. And then here, this is, I think, helpful because you see a little bit of the context on either side. So the top slide here shows our Garrison Street facade, and you can see the 5151 and 5101 buildings on the left. And you can also see this Church of St. Louis highlight in white on the right. So you can really see how our project does relate in character and scale sensitively to those elements. And then on the bottom, similarly, you see residential homes on the left, our facade in the middle, and then the 5151 building to the right. So the relationship of all those elements. And I did want to ask if you were able to pull up A07 of our PUD document. I could go through some of the street sections, if that's possible.
Or Sarah, I think you did testify to that. Why don't we wait and we can finish up our presentation, and then we can see if the commission has any questions, and we can pull that up at that time, if that's okay, Chairman Hood.
No problem. Okay. Then the last thing, really quickly, we have the materials for the project. We did pick different color bricks for each of the buildings and different window colors to try and add to that authenticity of the different building identities. And you see those on the next page as well, and then the final page. Okay. And then for landscape, I can go into a brief element of that if you go to the next slide, please. Next. All right, so this is the landscape approach for our project, which is intended to enhance the pedestrian experience and to help blend and project the project into the surrounding neighborhood. So all of the streetscapes include a 6-foot wide sidewalk with street planting zones and are in line with those found throughout the neighborhood. We have a generous planting zone between the sidewalk and our building facades ranging from 10 to 21 feet, which include decorative planting, rain gardens, and a variety of canopy and ornamental trees. And there's a wide entry walk on Garrison that provides access to our main entrance, and a smaller paved walk on Harrison. And nestled between the planted areas are several residential scale walkways providing access to individual units along 42nd and Harrison Street. Next, please. And the trees and planting around the building are enhancing the streetscape experience while buffering areaways and providing privacy for units. Next. And we have the 3 small courtyards, which are intended for use by the residents, which face Garrison Street, face 42nd Street. Each courtyard includes several small terraces for residents and adjacent units, and all the courtyards are planted in order to enhance views from the streetscape. Next one, please. And lastly, the planting palette throughout the project, which includes a variety of native plants related to the scale and character of the surrounding neighborhood while providing year-round seasonal interest.
Hello, good afternoon. All right, I think we had a little bit of feedback. I think we're okay now.
I think you're going to need to mute yours and we'll do mine.
Okay,
If everybody else can go on mute, I think Ms. Elliott will be just fine. If all of the rest of us go on mute.
yeah. Can everyone hear me? Only one time now? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I feel like there's always a trial and error. Okay, good afternoon, Chair Hood, members of the commission. My name's Brandis Elliott, and for a change, I'm pleased that my name wasn't the troublemaker today. So I'm going to be walking through how the project meets the PUD standard of review, delivers meaningful public benefits, and mitigates potential impacts through careful design and planning. As stated previously, we're going to provide a high level of presentation here. That said, I'm happy to walk through any additional slides and answer any questions when we get to that point. So Mr. Young, I'm going to be asking you to skip around a little bit for me. And if you wouldn't mind, could you go to slide number 38, please? This is about the FLUM. We're going to be talking a little bit about density. This site is designated for moderate density residential at 1.8 FAR and mixed use medium density residential and moderate density commercial. Both allow a density of up to 4.0. The proposed RA3 zone when it is implemented through a PUD with IZ, aligns with these designations. The project's FAR of 4.308, which averages at 3.06 across the site, is within the FLUMS range, and it supports a smooth transition to the adjacent lower density neighborhood. Next slide, please. We're going to continue talking about how the RA3 zone is not inconsistent. I think one thing that we all can agree on is that the existing R2 zone is inconsistent, is a low density designation. The proposed R3 zone, however, allows a base density of 3.6 FAR with inclusionary zoning, and then a higher 4.32 FAR through the PUD process. This range falls between the comp plan's guidance for moderate density residential, which again is the 1.8, and the mixed use designations, which allows up to 4.0. So importantly, the comp plan allows flexibility for PUDs and projects with IZ, and it states that zones other than those listed in the framework may apply. Additionally, the comprehensive plan also permits higher density on parts of the site. So as long as the overall FAR stays within the limits of the land use designation, then that would be acceptable to the comp plan. This project's proposed FAR of 4.308 includes bonus density from IZ and the PUD, and its average FAR of 3.06 across the site fits within the FLUM's intended range for a PUD with IZ. Next slide, please. Continuing with the RA3 zone not being inconsistent, the comp plan explains that the purpose of a PUD is to allow greater flexibility than matter of right zoning, such as increased height or density. So when a project delivers high quality public benefits and supports public health, safety, welfare, and convenience, then that is what is anticipated in exchange for the height or density. It also emphasizes that the PUD public benefits should directly address the district's most pressing challenges. And among these, the creation of new affordable housing beyond what is legally required is identified as a top priority. So this proposed PUD uses that zoning flexibility to deliver long-term public benefits, most notably by dedicating 33% of the residential units to affordable housing. This level of affordability, targeting households earning 50, 60, and 80% MFI, would not be possible without the additional density allowed through the PUD process. This project also includes other significant benefits that haven't gotten quite as much attention, including the high quality design and the removal of the 705-foot television tower. This project also advances key housing goals that are outlined in several plans and reports, including Housing Equity Report, the Rock Creek West Roadmap, and the Wisconsin Avenue Development Framework. These plans all call for increased housing and affordable housing in this part of the district. So the RA3 zone helps to meet these policy goals while maintaining the intent of moderate and medium density residential areas, which is to reinforce neighborhood character, walkable neighborhoods, stable residential areas, and improvements to the overall environment. Next slide, please. So we just have a quick note on this one. The proposed 4.308 FAR is less than the maximum that's permitted for a PUD, and the apparent FAR is consistent with the matter of right. These projects would only be using 50 feet through, this project would only be using 50 feet 3 inches of height, which is less than the matter of right height of 60 feet and the allowable PUD height of 75 feet. Mr. Young, could we skip to slide 44, please? So now we're just going to go into a little bit of detail about the framework. I do believe this is the first case that you all have reviewed using the framework. So, I have to introduce it a little bit, I think. So the purpose of the framework was to provide further guidance on how to implement the comp plan changes for the Wisconsin Avenue corridor, and particularly how to provide more housing and affordable housing. The subject property is specifically identified in the framework as part of a concept to break down larger blocks with pedestrian connections and to activate vacant spaces, of which this is one in Friendship Heights. The proposed PUD mirrors a concept in the framework that shows potential development as a transition between Wisconsin Avenue and the lower density on 42nd Street. Next slide, please. So there is a two-zone strategy on this property. The PUD site spans both the proposed Friendship Heights transition zone to the east, and then the mixed-use corridor zone to the west. On the east side, where we have the transition zone, it's intended to be a moderate density residential. The framework recommends 50 feet of height plus penthouse, and the PUD matches this with 50 feet, 3 inches, plus an 18.5-foot penthouse. The FAR recommendation for this side is 2.16. Now on the west side, which is the mixed-use corridor zone, that's intended to be medium density mixed use, closer to Wisconsin Avenue. And for this zone, the framework recommends a height of 75 feet plus penthouse and an FAR of 5.4. So the PUD proposes a lower FAR of 4.308 for the property and the 3.06 across the full site. The higher density allows for the PUD to exceed affordable housing goals that are also recommended by the development framework, which allow it to maximize affordable housing at varying levels of affordability. The project's bulk and scale is also consistent with what is illustrated in the development framework, so it meets the expectations of both proposed zones. Next slide, please. All right, so the development framework supports higher density for the PUDs. The proposed FAR of 4.308 falls within the range of density specified in the proposed zones, which is 2.16 and 5.4. And the project's outcomes advance the development framework's goals of housing, affordable housing, equitable growth, and neighborhood compatibility. We're going to be skipping ahead again, Mr. Young, to slide number 59, which is the balancing test. We want to be able to hit on the requirements of the PUD and demonstrate that we're complying with those. So the balancing test, for the balancing test, I think that we have demonstrated within the record, the documents that have already been submitted, and as well as within this presentation, that the proposed PUD is not inconsistent with the racial equity lens, the future land use map, generalized policy map, the elements of the comp plan, the Wisconsin Avenue Development Framework. I think we can also add the housing equity report in there. The project results in no unacceptable impacts, and any of the effects are either beneficial, mitigatable, or justified by the proposed benefits package, which was discussed earlier by Jack. And it does deliver robust benefits. The project does include a related zoning map amendment to support the proposed development, and it requests minor flexibility for penthouse side setback on the west elevation and rear yard requirement along the PUD site boundary. So when you're looking at these scales, we suggest that these elements all satisfy the balancing test because the public benefits, amenities, and the alignment with the adopted plans outweigh the development incentives and zoning flexibility that has been requested. And I believe we were going to skip ahead to the conclusion slide, number 66. where I'll just summarize that in conclusion, this PUD offers a well-balanced, policy-aligned proposal that delivers meaningful public benefits, particularly when it comes to affordable housing, while respecting the neighborhood context. And that concludes my presentation. I'll turn it back over to Christy.
Thank you. And just a couple of final points to address some of the questions that were in the letter that I mentioned. There was a question about whether a PUD map amendment could be used for matter of right development. And it is, we all understand that a PUD map amendment is only available to implement an approved PUD plan. And if there are any changes to that PUD, the applicant must return to the Zoning Commission for review and approval. And secondly, a PUD is not good forever. It is only good for 2 years, by which time a building permit application must be filed, or the Zoning Commission considers a time extension application. So those were just two of the final questions that had been asked. And so therefore, based on our testimony herein and the reports of the district agencies, we believe that the applicant meets the standard of review for a PUD and a related zoning map amendment. And we would request that the Zoning Commission approve the application. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shaka. I do have a quick question before I go to Commissioner Memorial. On the letter from the neighbors, I was reviewing it, and I think it's some thoughtful questions and concerns, and very polite, and I appreciate that. But have you all had a chance to kind of answer some of those questions to them, or have you all been meeting with them, or to give them some kind of assurances, or have you had a chance to respond? That's all I'm doing.
So we only received the letter yesterday. It was just filed in the record yesterday. Over the past 18 months, Jad and his team have met with many of these neighbors. I believe the neighbor who authored the letter is a newer neighborhood, but we have presented to the ANC that this is the first time. And Jad, if you want to mention a couple of the things that you've done, you've met with others on this block, but this is the first time we've heard from this neighbor in all of the different outreach.
Sure, yeah, and yeah, as I said, we've been meeting with the neighborhood both individually and under the ANC for going on about 7 years now on this block, and that we have made changes based both on ANC interests, including providing, finding out ways to maximize the amount of both housing and affordable housing in this location. It's not lost on us that Rock Creek West is the one planning area which has done the least both on housing and affordable housing to meet the goals that the district has set out for each planning area. But more specifically, have had conversations with individual neighbors that led to some very fine-grained changes. For one, things like a 10 p.m. Limitation on use of the roof deck. But also from the beginning informed kind of the overall massing of the project, doing things as Christy mentioned, like presenting the courtyards onto the 42nd Street facade so that that openness and that porosity faces that side of the project rather than being internal to the project. Other changes we made, we've tried to balance people's concerns about lots of other issues, including parking, green and low impact design elements that we've incorporated throughout the project. And in general, tried to create something that knits in with the neighborhood. Another thing not mentioned that was of interest to some neighbors was creating some sense that it's connected to the neighborhood. One of the things we did with regard to that was along 42nd and Harrison Street, we have individual units that have front stoops and the ability to walk out directly into the neighborhood so that they feel like they are better knit into the neighborhood rather than just be the, if you would, the backside of a larger building. So those are among the things. I would say the one thing that every single person asked me about was, are you going to be able to take down that tower? That is, as an owner, I would say a local landmark, but yeah, it is an eyesore. I'll give you that. So removal of the tower is one of the real signature things that we're able to do here, in addition to the provision of 1/3 of all units as affordable housing.
So let's talk about the tower, because I've been involved with that tower now for some years. where are we going to relocate it, or has technology to the point where we can do away with the tower? What's going on with the tower?
Yeah, so Commissioner Hood, the situation with the tower is that the Donahoe Companies now does own this property. The previous tenant, which was Fox Channel 5, and going back really far, the headquarters of Metro Media, if you can remember when that was a small independent outlet. That was where Wash FM was broadcast from. That was where Fox 5 was broadcast from. And at least one additional local outlet besides. That Fox Channel 5 has moved on to brand new offices up the street in Bethesda, and they now broadcast off of a tower over on River Road. That used to be and still is where they broadcast Channel 20 from. If I'm taking you back too far, stop me. But long and short of it is that the Donahoe Companies owns this property free and clear now. And as part of the planning and as part of the proffers for this, we would be removing that tower in full and not rebuilding it or replacing it elsewhere in the district.
I will tell you, somebody who's involved with that, with a current council member now, and that discussion going on between Ward 5, they wanted to put it in Ward 5, and that was a big issue then. And that was about 10 years or so. That may predate some of this, but I just want to make sure that's what, but I'm glad to hear what you said. I'm not going to go into that, but I'm glad to hear what you said on that. Ms. Striker, I do have one other question before I go to Commissioner Moore, and I do have some other ones after that. I see Mr. Cohen here. Is he here getting experience? Is he going to be tested? I mean, is he going to be presenting soon? He used to work with us, and I'm just curious. I'm always interested in what people are doing as they leave and how good they're doing. So I'm just going to ask you in public, what is he doing? Is he going to soon be the one presenting?
He is doing a fantastic job. So you will soon see him. And I will say, I think the BZA sees him fairly often presenting here. So he will be presenting before you, Chairman, in no time at all.
Okay, well, that's one strike again. We went to the BZA first, Mr. Cohen, but I won't hold that against you. Okay, Commissioner Moore.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've got a couple questions, a few comments. Mr. Donahoe, building off your comment about the TV tower, I imagine other property owners, property developers wish they had a tower to remove, because that's a great starting point for community outreach to say you're going to remove this tower. So I imagine that was probably just a great start for your community outreach, and made everything much easier after that. So briefly, Ms. Elliott, thank you for walking us through the Wisconsin Avenue Development Framework. That was very helpful. Let's see, Ms. Alexander, I guess most of my comments focus on the architecture, and Helena Knight did a great job in prepping you. I noticed that you had talked a little bit about rhythm, different iterations that you had gone through. Those are things that are always of interest to me. You went through setbacks and talked a little bit about sensitivity of height. Appreciated the elevations or the site sections. I think there was some additional slides that you had wanted to refer to. I'm not opposed to pulling those up if we can, to giving the public a little additional time or visual here to demonstrate how this sits within the context of the neighborhood. Is that something that we can do? Which slides did you want to pull up, Ms. Alexander?
It was A07 of the architectural plans.
Great.
Thank you. So would you like me to just walk through these?
Just go ahead. I know that you prepped for this, and certainly happy to hear what you had prepared.
Sure.
For tonight.
Hopefully you guys can see this, but the dimensions are pretty important. Essentially, we have the right-of-ways of each of the streets listed, and then we have the setbacks as well. So the total width of that street is shown. And the first image is of Garrison Street. So that is the southernmost street. That's where the building is at its tallest. And you can see the adjacent homes across the street are also a little taller on that street. And we are about 87 feet building face to building face at the closest parts on that street, which is a pretty good distance given we are only about, I think 59 feet to the parapet at that location. Then moving to the right image, that is at Harrison Street. Our building has stepped down and so has our contextual buildings, so they're both shorter. We were about 38 feet, I believe, at that side. And then our distance is about 93. It's a little hard to read on my screen, but that's what I remember. And then going down on the bottom image, that is on 42nd Street. This is actually cutting through the courtyard. So again, making those courtyards may have had a big impact on the street. But even at the building face, given the 15-foot setback, the right-of-way and the setback across the street, we're still greater than 90 feet setback from those adjacent residences. And this one is cutting through one of the homes across the street from us. So you can just get a sense of the scale and the relationship and how we were trying to be as sensitive and contextual as we could.
Terrific, thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to hear and see, so I appreciate the additional explanation. This project is certainly laudable with a number of benefits here. Of course, the 3-bedroom at 50 and 60%, a total of 9 3-bedrooms, 33% affordable housing is just remarkable. All electric. Did I understand that right? This is all electric?
The units are all electric, correct?
The units are all electric. Very good. I'm curious, and LEED Silver, I did see that you're awfully close to LEED Gold. So what would it take to pull you over for that 1.5? I thought I saw 58, somewhere around there, close to 60. So what would it take to pull you over to LEED Gold?
I think we have every intention of trying to reach there. We just didn't want to make promises we wouldn't be able to keep. So the goal was really to ensure that we endeavored to do that, but the promise was LEED Silver.
Okay. Well, you're resting pretty well at LEED Silver for sure. Would like to see you achieve LEED Gold. I'm cheering for you all to do that. Working across, I guess this would be a comment just for the entire project team, working across agencies, DCH, HCD, DPR, the bocce courts, right? What a great amenity there. Just kind of going through some of my notes. I think how you broke up the bays was really successful. In fact, one of the perspectives I originally thought that maybe that was when I first took a look at this project, and I think that might have been the very first perspective I saw of this project. I originally thought, and I saw the 15-foot grade change, which is pretty significant. But I think it's successful because I thought it was a different project at first. But the way it was rendered, then I looked and I thought, oh, wait a minute. Then that led to a curiosity about how your materials transition into those courtyards, sort of against that plane that that runs the entire length of the site. So just curious if you could just describe for me, because I didn't see that in any of the elevations or any of the perspectives really. And I would say the one comment that I have are the 3 courtyards. I would like the landscape architect to have a minute for a little bit of shine on the landscape. The plans were too small in scale. And while the courtyards themselves really, and the programming is rather simple, there's more to it than that. And would have been great to see some larger blown up plans for that, and then some perspectives, Miss Alexander, just to see how that material changes, that transition as it wraps around the corners would have been great. So I'm just, so that's something perhaps that you might be able to touch on a little bit and articulate.
Sure.
What that material looks like along that long elevation, that long plane.
Correct. Similar to how it transitions at the private drive side, our intention is that that facade would wrap interior to the courtyard back to that plane that is the kind of setback courtyard facade. And so it would complete itself almost as if they were 4 buildings that got linked at a later point by a newer addition that kind of brought them all together.
Okay, very good.
Mhm.
Architecturally, I don't have a lot of other comments or questions, which I think is probably a good thing. From my notes here, but I would like Mr. Bregan to talk a little bit about the 3 courtyards, what those look like seasonally. I know that, you know, your plant palette looks pretty similar to all the other plant palettes that we see. I would like to know a little bit about your involvement, perhaps maybe in the green roof, and then either you or Miss Alexander talk a little bit about what's unique or exceptional about some of your sustainability goals or features here that might not, rather than sort of just the standard here. What is exceptional about this project?
Well, thanks for asking and letting me have a chance to speak about the landscape a little bit. Appreciate that. Um, I guess I'd start with let's start with the easy one, which is the plant palette, I guess. And as you probably know, we're often threading quite a few needles in terms of criteria, both in terms of sort of city requirements and maintenance, um, uh, as well as using native plants as much as possible. We like to think about biodiversity and how we can support native pollinators and other insects and animals like that. So I tend to agree there is kind of an agreed upon sort of family of plant materials that we often end up using. Happy to push that a bit, but also stay within what's reasonable and what's acceptable. So I think, you know, there's those criteria, and then also trying to find materials that do provide seasonal interest year round. Again, pretty standard idea. It's not always that easy to pull off. And we do have, I think, a good palette here. We're dealing with at-grade planting, stormwater management planting, and some on structure as well. So there's some pretty challenging conditions there. And you know, I think the ones that we've sort of chosen as a family here address those various conditions pretty well. But we can certainly, you know, develop that as we move forward. The courtyards are another interesting and challenging aspect of the project. Just worth noting, they're on structure on top of a parking garage, which is something that we see quite often in the district. But it's an important condition and set of criteria. So I guess to kind of bridge from planting, you know, the notion is to plant them as lushly as we can, given that criteria both provide some level of privacy for the units there, right? There are residential units that circle or that exist on the edges of those, and also provide visual relief and enhance the streetscape as people walk by. So we envision a range of sort of shrubs and small trees in those areas. I think you can see some of that in the plan. But the other component is how they're used, right? And I think we were really trying to think about how we can make them feel like they're part of the neighborhood, but typologically they are kind of different from what's happening across the street, right? So how do you find a way of encouraging those residents that are in the units to use those spaces in an appropriate way? I think Sarah mentioned that there are small stoops and terraces associated with individual units to encourage engagement, you know, with the neighborhood, you know, having people use those edges and sort of feeling, like Jad said, like they're part of the neighborhood is an important component, but also not encourage intensive use that might be inappropriate on a residential street. So we think we've done a good job of, again, sort of use the expression, threading that needle of providing activation at an appropriate level, and then planting and making sure they feel lush. I think it's important to the way the building functions also that there is quite a bit of planting around it to help break down the scale. And we talked about canopy trees as well as ornamental trees in that zone, but that there's also planting in the courtyards to help reinforce the sort of rhythm of the massing that Sarah's team has developed. I don't, did that answer?
Yes, it
questions?
does. I appreciate the compelling response there. And I'm certainly supportive of this PUD and look forward to hearing what my peers have to say about it. But I wish it would have been great to see some larger plans to highlight the landscape plan a bit more. I'm always looking to see how the architect and the landscape architect are working together. I'd also like to ask your level of involvement in stormwater management with your civil, and certainly hope that you were involved in that as well.
Absolutely. We've actually worked with Sunil on a number of projects and the rest of the design team. And in fact, you mentioned a 15-foot grade change on the site, and we're working with rain gardens. So sort of we worked pretty carefully at the grading at this point to make sure that those are functional and that they fit pretty seamlessly. It's not the easiest thing, but we were in fact very careful to look at the grading with Sunil, the civil, and his team to make sure we didn't have to build too many, or really very many at all, additional retaining walls to accommodate stormwater. So the thinking is that those stormwater structures, which are rain gardens on 42nd Street, are just that, rain gardens with sloped edges, not with as few sort of retaining walls as possible to retain that character. So anyway, short answer is yes, we did work closely with Sunil.
No, that's great. That's terrific. Thank you. Those are the things that I like to hear. And again, I wish we could have seen more of those, more drawings to highlight some of that work, that important work. So, but that said, I'm pleased to hear that the project team was well integrated here. So, and it shows, it comes through in your design solution. I appreciate it. I don't think that I have any other questions. Nope, from my notes. So, Mr. Chairman, I yield back and applaud the design team and their work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wright, any questions, comments?
Thank you. I really have a lot of positive reaction to the design of this project. I think in recent zoning commission meetings, we've been talking about sculpting buildings to try to have the building achieve greater compatibility with the surrounding lower density neighborhoods. And I think this is a very good example, both in terms of the courtyards and the big moves to sort of break up the facade along 42nd, but even the smaller moves. And in fact, maybe we could just pull up the image of Garrison Street, which is the biggest facade that we're dealing with. I wonder, Mr. Young, if you could pull up from the PowerPoint the Garrison Street facade. Yeah, I mean, I think what's that's actually the Harrison Street, I think. Yep, there we go. That's Garrison Street. So that's, again, a very large and sort of imposing building. But there are a lot of architectural moves, such as it's not a total deep setback of the top floor, but at least a sort of water course or line that helps break up the top floor. So you have the feeling of sort of base, middle, top, the treatment of the entryway that is sort of popped out a little bit. And I just think as a commission, we should keep some of these ideas in mind, even as we look at other projects. This is a really, really good example of how a building that is sort of imposing has been sculpted to make it more compatible with the adjacent lower density neighborhoods. And I think that's, again, something to keep in mind. One thing I wanted to also do was, in going through the comments from the neighbors across the street. I want to sort of give you all a chance to address each of them very specifically. And one of the things they keep talking about, I want to just put it out there, is a 75-foot tall structure. When actually, I think the measurement for the majority of the structure is 50 feet. And even if you include the penthouse, it's another like maybe 16 feet from what I could see. So I just want to give the applicant a chance to address this issue that's been put out there about a 75-foot tall building.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Wright. And I'll take a first crack at it, but I think our design team and legal team can offer additional thoughts on that. And you know, also, I think Commissioner Wright, you're probably the one person who has seen and reviewed everything on both sides of Western Avenue as it relates to Friendship Heights.
Mhm.
So I know you know the neighborhood intimately. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah. So yeah, as you said, it's a 50-foot 3-inch building as measured from the midpoint of 42nd Street, that face of the building, and 4 stories as we count stories in the district. This, you know, facade is the one that does kind of show the size of the building more. And you see that full walkout basement, if you will, on this face where we've placed our lobby so as not to, you know, expose the parking garage or any of those kind of less attractive uses. So it gives more of the appearance of a 5-story building on this side, although again, it is a 4-story building as we define it. On the 3 different faces of Garrison here and then going up 42nd Street and Harrison, we're facing a variety of different uses. Some single family of 2 and 3 stories, but also attached dwellings, as Sarah mentioned, an institution, a church. And then on this facade, we're actually facing the taller residential structures across Garrison. So that house that you see there to the left on the corner is a 3-story structure. As you move there along Garrison, across from our building, you then come to where there's now was previously a 2-story house, but is now actually a 3-story plus daylighted basement. So call it, you know, 3.5-story with its own roof deck as well. And that's gives the appearance of being 2 townhouses, but is actually a 2/2, a pair of 2/2 townhouses. And then stepping up to where the corner of Garrison and Wisconsin is, where you have a 5-story mixed-use building with condos atop of office. So you know, we're really trying to address as much as we can the sort of mixed nature of these different street frontages, and be responsive to them across the different typologies along those different faces. Can I offer you an architect or
well, and I think
a land use attorney to answer that better?
No, I think also the important point was in some of the sections, building sections that you showed, where the building is stepping down from Wisconsin, from whatever new buildings will be on Wisconsin to these buildings, to the street, and then ultimately to the church and the single family homes. And I think some of those building sections were very useful in demonstrating that there is not, you know, a 75-foot tall building in way people traditionally think of a 75-foot tall building, you know, up along 42nd Street. And I think I just want to sort of emphasize that point because there's a lot of discussion in this letter about a 75-foot tall building. In reality, there is significant stepping from the taller building on Wisconsin down towards 42nd Street. And I just wanted to sort of, and it is, as I think Mr. Donahoe was saying, it's a varied kind of neighborhood. There's lots of different kinds of buildings surrounding this site. So I think those are both important points. But I did want to, again, give you a chance to sort of go through each of and respond to each of the comments that were being made. I think you already have responded to the question that was raised if the plans could be altered or development rights transferred after the approval of a PUD. And I think you've already answered that. And the answer is no. That is not something, if there was a significant change, you'd have to come back and amend or even file a new application. So again, that's the answer to that. The next thing they brought up was whether the applicant conducted a shadow study. And I wanted to give the architect a chance to talk about that.
Yes. Unfortunately, since we just got the response yesterday, we weren't able to enter that into the record, but we did look at that today quickly. The majority of the year, there would be no impact to any of the adjacent homes, given the way the height is concentrated on the western side and is pulled back as far as we can from the adjacent homes. That lends itself to that conclusion. In the winter months, in the late afternoon, there would be some impact to the northern and western neighbors, but that would be after 3 o'clock in the winter. So again, it shouldn't be of any great impact to any of the adjacent residences.
That's great. And I don't know the proper protocol, but if you've actually done the shadow studies, if they could be added to the record just as a point of information, I think that would be helpful to do. Another question they raised is, how do you feel about the residents of the development not being allowed to get residential parking permits? That is something that happens on a number of multifamily projects. Do you have any feelings about that?
I think Ms. Milanovich could address that issue.
Sure. So, as we had worked with the community, as Chad mentioned, for a very long time, one of the issues that they had raised early on was ensuring that we had sufficient on-site parking. And so that's what we've done, is to provide what we believe is the amount of parking that this project needs so that we can limit the amount of parking that would need to occur on the street. But at this time, I don't think there's been any commitment, or certainly we've not been asked by the ANC to self-restrict the building from the residential parking program, simply because we've provided that sufficient amount of on-site parking to accommodate our needs.
Yeah, and I had looked at your parking ratio. It was about 0.7 in the ballpark, and that is definitely consistent with what's happening with a lot of multifamily buildings in the district. And it's consistent with, I think, what we've seen in terms of actual utilization rates of parking garages. So, I'm just sort of laying out the questions here and giving you all an opportunity to address them. The next question was, when would the television tower be removed? Once you get your entitlements and your approvals, would you be starting in a sort of rapid way? And obviously, probably the tower would have to be the first thing to come down so that you could actually start site, grading and improvements. What would be the timeline?
I think, Commissioner, you said that right. I believe in our MOU with the ANC, I think the commitment is that we remove it by time of C of O, but in actuality, the tower lands or a foot of the tower is on the site that we would actually be building upon. And for grading and many other reasons, I would anticipate it would happen, either by separate permit directly before the main building permit, a freestanding demo permit, or along with the mobilization in the beginning of construction.
Do you have, the next questions that were in the letter really had to do with construction timeline? Do you have a general sense of, assuming your entitlements move forward, when you'd break ground and how long construction would take?
That is quite a question for any project in the DMV right now. So that is a bit of a challenge. We've obviously rather carefully thought about this overall city block with that in mind, going so far as to have already pulled, we have the permit in hand for 5151 Wisconsin, the project there on Wisconsin Avenue at the old Fox 5 building. This would, we anticipate, be a couple years following that. But really, as anybody is, we're a little bit prisoners of the larger macroeconomic economy about when we can start.
Commissioner Wright,
Very true.
let me just interrupt. I had already have on my notes, Ms. Shiker and Mr. Corn, that I wanted you all to respond to that came in yesterday. But I'm certainly, I don't want to stop Commissioner Wright's line of questioning, but I need something in the record pertaining to everything I'm hearing verbally. And I want to also caution us. I don't know where you all are, but we're getting ready to get a storm. And when we get those storms, all of us may cut off. So I'm just giving you all a heads up. So anyway, Commissioner Wright, you can continue with the line of questioning, but I just want you to know when it got to me, I was going to ask for that in writing as well.
And I was basically at the end of their list of points anyway. My only last question is, what is the width of the driveway, the private drive that would be, or alley that would be between the two buildings? It looked about 20, but I didn't know exactly.
It is either 20 or 24, plus the setback on both sides from there. If you give me a second, I can confirm exactly.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to get a ballpark idea, but it looked, just in eyeballing it, like it was about 20 feet or so. Okay, those were my questions. I think it's actually a very important project. I think the fact that you're doing a third of the project with housing that is market rate is really, really laudable, and is quite an exceptional offer in a PUD. And I think, again, you've really addressed a lot of the architectural issues to assure compatibility, again, by sculpting the building. And so I think it's great. And congratulations on such a well thought out project. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Stidham, any questions or comments?
Wow, the two commissioners didn't leave me much room for a lot, which is great. But I have to say, and I have to agree with Commissioner Wright in your efforts to break down the massing, especially on 42nd Street. The individual bars, the use of different materials, so they appear to be four separate buildings with the courtyards in between, and the fact that it's stepped down makes that transition to the neighborhood, and in my opinion, perfect. You really have considered how this fits into the neighborhood and did not create a wall, a massive wall of building. You were considerate to the existing residents and their need for that transition to take place. And that really should be a lesson to many on how to incorporate such a large building into a neighborhood where it doesn't feel such a large building. So thank you for those efforts. And then the only one question that I had, and this is really based on the questions that we received as a late addition. It seems a lot of those questions are related to construction management type efforts. Have there been any conversations regarding, and maybe I missed it, a construction management agreement with the existing residents in the ANC?
Sure, Commissioner. I'll take a first crack at that. Yeah, thank you for the question. We do, as part of the memorandum of understanding with the ANC, have some language in there that's specific to the construction period, concerns that they raised and that are covered in there include things like construction period parking for workers and the like. But also, we recognize that there will be the normal process of engaging with ANC as we get closer to construction about things like, hours of operation and the like during that construction period. So those will be, topics that we've got in there as well, but topics that can be further addressed as we come closer to permit.
Okay, great. Thank you. I really strongly encourage you to have those discussions as you get closer to make sure that the expectations the existing residents are, so they understand what you're doing, when you're doing it, how things will process, and who to contact if there's a problem.
Right. Oh, and you're exactly right, Commissioner. And we do in that MOU have an agreement for a single point of contact, and then also to do photographic surveys for residents to the extent they wish of their properties, just to ensure that everything is just as it was.
Great. Thank you. And with that, just, very nice job on the work with the transition building. Really is. And with that, Chairman Hood, send it back to you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Miller, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have my video off because, as usual, I'm having connectivity problems, and the thunder is happening here as well. And I need to get to Apple because my Mac is just unreliable at this point. But thank you, and thank you to the applicants team, Jad Donahoe, Chrissy Scheiker, Colin, Sarah Alexander, all the Tortigalis team, and Brandis Elliott, and Jamie Milanovich, and whoever else, Tim Bregan, all of you who have provided information to us, and and I appreciate all the responsiveness that you've had throughout this process to Office of Planning, DDOT, DOEE, and maybe other agencies, and to the ANC, most importantly, 3E. I know you've had a lot of community engagement with them, and you've entered into or about to enter into agreement with them, and that's all very commendable. And this project is very commendable. All my colleagues, I appreciate all of your comments. You've made my job easier, and that's better because I might lose connectivity. I agree with everything that you've said, each of you have said about the design, the transitional setbacks and step downs that are supposed to happen in this kind of neighborhood in the Wisconsin Avenue Development Framework. It's consistent with, certainly more consistent with the comprehensive plan policies and all those other Rock Creek West Road and Wisconsin Avenue Development Framework policies that have been developed to try to get the kind of affordable and market rate housing that is needed and should be along Wisconsin, this rich, amenity-rich neighborhood. So I appreciate the 126 units of housing, the 42 of which are affordable, 13 of 42 are IZ. The rest are, I guess, subsidized by assisted by the mayor's and the council's tax abatement program for high need areas that haven't met their housing equity targets in the housing equity report. So I don't really have. I appreciate the transportation infrastructure improvements, the playground improvement, all the public benefits and amenities. So thank you. I don't really have any questions. I appreciate all the work that's been done. Do you know, Mr. Donahoe or Ms. Stryker, this isn't the first, or is this the first project that is using the HANTA, taking advantage of the HANTA tax abatement program, or you don't know that? I just out of curiosity.
Thank you for asking the question, Commissioner. I'm not aware of any other project that's come before the zoning commission with the HANTA. I believe there may be up to several other projects that could be utilizing it via a matter of right approach. But thank you for that, and thank you for all of your comments.
Well, thank you for that response. So yeah, we all feel like we're participating then in this project. So we will take partial credit if it gets built. What the adjacent project that you built on is your project too, right? At 5151 Wisconsin.
Yes, sir.
What's the is that I have gone by there a million times, but is that's out of the ground? Or is that up and what's the status of that? Just out of
the status of that is that we have a permit in hand, and as soon as is practical, would want to move forward with it. We own the property. We have paid to design it and have permit in hand. So we are, I think you would say, highly motivated.
All right. Well, good luck with both of these projects adjacent to each other, and I think they will contribute to the continuing revitalization of the Wisconsin Avenue corridor. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, thank you. And I'll be very quick. I think my colleagues have exhaustively went through this, and I think have done a very good job, as well as the applicants coming forward. Again, I want to reiterate what Commissioner Wright went through. I would like that, Ms. Stryker, in writing. And Mr. Corn, if I can get that, we can get that in writing for the record. Also, the Committee of 100 wrote something, and I'm more interested, Ms. Stryker, Mr. Corn, in the last part of their submission about process. The question about why wasn't this all a PUD, the other part that was done by the BZA. And I'm just curious, I'd like for you to answer that. I don't need questions, I don't need answers now, but if you could just do me a sound bite of the process. And I know you have rights to do it the way you have to do it, Ms. Donahue, so I get that. But I'm just curious. I think they raised up some great points, and I appreciate you all using the HANTA. And it talks about the IZ, and I think that is very thoughtful. And what the Committee 100 did. I'm not sure if they're here to ask their own questions, but I want us to. I also want to be able to digest their thoughts, and then also hear the responses that you all have. Sure. Somebody's going to say something.
Oh, Chairman, I was just going to answer your question, or did you want us just to put it in writing in the record?
If you can answer, but I like it in writing too, to go in the record.
We can put it in writing as well. The multifamily use for that project was a matter of right with a limited exception for the BZA. The BZA process is a quicker process, and there was the goal to move forward with that project as quickly as possible. And so, which as Mr. Donahoe just said, we have the permit in hand, ready to go whenever we can. So it was more of a time consideration than anything else, but we can supplement the record with that information. In this case, the R2 needed to be rezoned in order to allow multifamily use and to be consistent with the FLUM. As you know, we didn't rezone the other site. So that is primarily the reason, but we'll put something further in the record about it.
But in the Committee 100's letter, I think they cited that, but they said that project has not went forward yet. But I'm hearing now from Mr. Donahue, you have a permits in hand. So I just like for a sound bite. We don't need a book or dissertation, just maybe a half a paragraph explaining some of the issues that the Committee 100 brought up, and I appreciate it. My last comment is I really want to thank Mr. Chuck Elkins. I have to thank everyone who participated in this, but Mr. Chuck Elkins really, I think, hit the nail on the head when he talked about what's trying to be achieved here. I've said that in another case, and I got in a whole lot of trouble. So I'm going to associate myself this time with Mr. Elkins And then that way he and I both may be in trouble. So I don't have any other questions on that. I appreciate all the work that's been done here. It looks like you have garnered a lot of support. And even the people who had some still questions, you've still garnered a lot of support. So we appreciate that. And thank you for all your hard work. Let's go to ANC 3. I think it was 3E, right, Ms. Shelton? Is it 3E, Mr.
Yes, sir. Mr. Quinn.
Quinn or Mr. Bender? One of them.
Tom Quinn.
Okay, let's go to Mr. Quinn. Does Mr. Quinn, do you have any, Commissioner Quinn, you have any cross-examination? Just cross right now, not your presentation. Is he up, Ms. Shelton? Okay. Commissioner Quinn, if you can unmute and let us know if you have any questions, any cross. Michelle, are we able to get a hold of him?
I think he can hear us. He may be having issues unmuting.
We all gonna probably have issues in a minute.
Yeah, this storm is coming. I know I'm on the river and I am definitely having connectivity issues. Let's see. I have sent him a couple requests to unmute. Not sure if he's getting them or not. Let me check my email.
Okay, if not, I'll move on and we can come back to him.
Yeah, we don't have another party.
Well, no, I was just gonna move on to the government witnesses. I mean, the government to the Office of Attorney General.
Yeah, if you want to do that, and I'll give Mr. Quinn a call, and we could always come back for his cross of the applicant if he has some. I'll try to call him.
Let's move on to Ms. Kane. I believe Ms. Kane is here from the Office of Attorney General. Haven't seen her in a while. Welcome, Ms. Kane, back. Let's bring her up.
Good evening, Chairman Hood, members of the commission. It is good to be back. I'll ask Mr. Young if he can pull up our presentation, which is very quick, so I will go through this very quickly. But yes, so OAG, so first of all, introductions. My name is Alexandra Kane. I am here tonight on behalf of the Equitable Land Use section of the Office of the Attorney General. OAG is very pleased to be in support of the PUD. If you can go to the next slide, Mr. Young. So OHE is in support of the PUD principally on the basis of its affordable housing proffer, which we believe advances a number of key comprehensive plan policies and also significantly outweighs the PUD's requested development incentives, thereby satisfying the PUD balancing test. PUD's affordable housing proffer is significant in its scale. At 33%, it is significantly exceeds a 10% base IZ requirement, as well as the 20% IZ requirement that would be required for a MAP amendment requesting the same amount of density and subject to the IZ Plus program. In addition to the sheer quantity of units, the PUD is also proffering additional affordability benefits that we wanted to highlight. First of all, there are the 2 additional 50% MFI units. Now that is beyond what the zoning regulations would require. In addition, one of those 50% MFI units is going to be a family-sized unit, which addresses the critical need district-wide for family-sized units at those lower levels of affordability. And then finally, the fact that the applicant is proffering those HANTA units at the 80% MFI level. With HANTA, you have a slight range of affordability that can be offered. So the fact that they are offering it at that slightly lower level, we believe is also very commendable. Now, this proffer would be commendable on its own, but the fact that it is being provided in Rock Creek West, where affordable housing and new housing is critically needed, is worth highlighting. As was noted, Rock Creek West is significantly behind in its affordable housing goals. To date, only 230 units have been produced towards its goal of 1,990 under the mayor's order. So any project that provides affordable housing at this scale really is commendable. Next slide, please, Mr. Young. In addition, the PUD is providing this housing in a manner that is consistent with the comprehensive plan's guidance for how to provide additional density and housing density, as well as the more specific guidance that we've seen from the Rock Creek West Roadmap and the Wisconsin Avenue Framework. So both of those planning documents are focused on increasing housing in Rock Creek West. And the Wisconsin Avenue framework in particular identifies that stretch of Wisconsin Avenue between Friendship Heights and Tenleytown that we can see in the upper right there, which comes from the framework, as being a critical location for adding additional density for housing, with the idea that you would focus that density along the corridor and then step it down as you move into the lower density neighborhoods or surrounding it. So the PUD is obviously right there. It is supporting those goals as well as the broader goals of the comprehensive plan concerning locating density and housing along transit corridors and near metro stations. The PUD is just set off of that Wisconsin Avenue corridor. It is within walking distance of both the Friendship Heights and the Tenleytown metro stations, with all of their surrounding development and amenities, including grocery stores, retail, schools, public libraries. All of those are within walking distance of the PUD. And then finally, as we've heard, I think everyone is sort of taken tonight with the way in which the PUD is transitioning that requested density down into the surrounding neighborhood. As we've seen through a number of renderings, including the one that you see there on the bottom right, the PUD is using a number of truly creative design features to do that, again, in line with what the various planning documents call for, including stepping back its penthouse setbacks, and then also that facade articulation and differentiation through the bays and the different pavilions that we've seen. So again, we think that it is really a phenomenal project that is advancing a number of the comprehensive plan's policies, especially those related to affordable housing in an area of the city where they are most crucially needed. And we also think that what the PUD is offering more than compensates for the development incentives that it has requested. With that, I promise to be brief. That is the end of my testimony, but I am happy to answer any questions. And in addition, our written statement is in the record at Exhibit 34A.
Thank you again, Ms. Kane. We appreciate your examination in this case and assisting us as we continue to move forward. Let's see, any of my colleagues have any questions, comments? I'm looking at your heads, not seeing it. Okay, no questions of OAG. Okay. Ms. Scheiker, do you all have any questions of OAG?
We do not. Thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Shellen, have we been able to get Commissioner Quinn?
Mr. Quinn sent me an email saying that he was sorry he was in another call and he would be off at 6.
He was in another calling. I missed that.
He would be off at 6. So I don't think he's available.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got it. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. King. We appreciate your examination again, as I mentioned previously. All right, so we need to move. We'll come back at 6 to the ANC if we're still able to be on. Michelle, let's go to the District Department of Transportation and the ANC. I'm sorry, District Department of Transportation and the Office of Planning.
Sure.
Good evening, Chairman Hood and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Erkin Osberg with the District Department of Transportation. DDOT is supportive of the applicant's PUD application to develop the property at 4201 Garrison Street Northwest. In our July 3rd, 2025 report, which is in the record as Exhibit 36, we recommended approval with 2 conditions. The first is implementation of the applicant's transportation demand management plan with 2 minor revisions. The second condition is infrastructure improvements in the public space to include intersection daylighting, also known as curb extensions, and a speed hump on 42nd Street. As you heard in the applicant's presentation, they have agreed to these conditions. And with those included in the zoning order, DDOT has no objection to the approval of PUD application. We look forward to continuing to work with the applicant on the streetscape design and public space improvements and curbside management plan as they go through the public space permitting process. Thank you. That's all for me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Osberg. Let me see if we have any questions or comments from any of my colleagues. I'm looking at you. I don't see any. Okay. Mr. Miller will. I'm looking. Okay, no comments. Okay, Ms. Scheiker, or should I call on Mr. Cohen? Ms. Scheiker.
Whether you call on him or me, we do not have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Again, we don't have Commissioner Quinn. I guess we'll hear from him at 6. All right, Ms. Shellen, let's go to I could do the report, but I'll wait and see what happens at 6. Let's go to, we have anyone who's in here in support, opposition, or undeclared?
I think you have Office of Planning first.
Who said that, Mr. Young? Thank you, Mr. Young, for your help. Let's go to Office of Planning. I'm trying to push. Let's go to Office of Planning.
Good evening, Chairman Hood, members of the Commission. For the record, this is Philip Bradford, Development Review Specialist with the Office of Planning. The Office of Planning recommends approval of the requested PUD and related map amendment, along with a special exception request and zoning flexibility. The PUD site, as previously mentioned by the applicant, is 40,357 square feet and rezones a 28,654 square foot portion of the R2 zone to the RA3 as part of the map amendment request. The staff report incorrectly notes this area. The area not subject to the PUD is the property size. A building this size obviously cannot fit on a lot that small. During set down, no major questions were posed to the applicant by the commission or OP, other than to provide additional information and clarity about the demographic trends in the neighborhood and the project's potential impact to the neighborhood. And the applicant has submitted an exhibit regarding the potential impacts to the neighborhood and demographic trends, which is in the record in Exhibit 23C. On balance, the project would not be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, especially when viewed through a racial equity lens. The project is noteworthy in that, given its size and affordable housing contribution, it could play a transformational role in adding new housing, especially affordable units, to the Rock Creek West planning area, which as of September 2024 has produced the lowest percentage of affordable units targeted for all planning areas in the district. The applicant is requesting several areas of design flexibility, all of which is supported by OP, except for the sustainable features. OP recommends the applicant provide additional details on the benefits of the proposed sustainability features before the commission takes final action on this case. In the applicant's opening statements, it was stated that additional detail would be covered tonight, but I do not recall hearing that during the presentation, other than the discussion with Commissioner Imamura regarding LEED Gold, which OP would support, as this the minimum standard noted in the PUD public benefits section in the zoning regulations is LEED Gold. The applicant is requesting 2 areas of zoning flexibility, one for the penthouse side setback along the west elevation from the private alley and from the rear yard setback from the PUD boundary, which OP also supports. The applicant is requesting special exception relief for off-site parking as 6 spaces are located underground and extend into the R2 zoning district. The applicant meets all the criteria for the commission to grant the special exception relief. And in summary, OP finds the benefits of the project commensurate with the flexibility sought through the PUD, and we hope the commission concludes that the PUD meets the criteria for approval. And thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bradford. Mr. Bradford, was the correction made? I think you said in the report that the correction, was that submitted, the correction in what you stated earlier about the size of the PUD?
Chairman Hood, could you repeat the question, please?
You said at the very beginning, I can't remember exactly what it was, that something was incorrect in the report.
Oh, yes. In the table at the beginning of the report, I noted the area not to part of the rezoning as the square footage of the site, which is very far off from the actual PUD boundary.
But do we have something in the record?
But it's correct in the applicant submissions, but it's incorrect in the staff report. So I just wanted to note that in case anyone saw that.
So I get it, but let's correct it in Office of Plans report too, and just submit a sheet, if you don't mind, to do that. Because years later, none of us will be here and something may come up like that. So we'll make sure we have all the correct material there. Also, Commissioner Imamura has really pressed on trying to make LEED Gold, but if he has a comment on that, he can. But let me look at all my colleagues and see if they have any questions or comments. Okay, no. All right, Ms. Stryker, you have any? Or you or Mr. Cohen, I like saying that. Have any questions, Officer Planning?
we don't have any questions. We had felt that the different sustainable features were discussed during the presentation, but we would be happy to submit it for the record if that's what the commission would like.
Yeah, I think we really want to, and I'll let Commissioner Moore speak for himself. I think he said we weren't far off. I don't want to put words in his mouth. He's a commissioner, he can speak, but we're trying to go the way I think all of us would agree with Commissioner Moore. I'm looking. Okay, all right, I think we all do. So whatever he said, that's what we're gonna do. We're trying to achieve. All right, Mr. Bradford, thank you very much. We appreciate your report and everything. It's not 6 o'clock yet. Let's go to Michelle. Do we have anyone here in support, opposition, or undeclared? Michelle? Oh, we do? Okay. Can we bring them all up at the same time?
Yes.
Or we have too many? Okay.
I think we have too many for that.
Okay, well, let's bring 4.
Let me double check.
Let's bring 4 in support first.
Okay, 4. Okay, sure. All right, that would be in support. Well, actually, we might be able to. Cheryl Court. Then we have, she's part of the applicants team. Cheryl Court is the only one. Actually, we might be able to get them all up if you'd like.
Yeah, let's see if we can get them all
In that
up.
case, Cheryl Court is the only one in support.
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Court, but let me see if we can get them all up first.
Okay. Jed Skibo and Andrea Fishman in opposition.
Okay.
Shelley Rep and Jacob Van Leer undeclared.
Okay. All right, so they'll all come up, but what we'll continue. Ms. Court, you can go ahead and start, please. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman Hood and members of the commission. I'm Cheryl Court with the Coalition for Smarter Growth. We are the leading organization advocating for walkable, bikeable, inclusive, transit-oriented communities as the most sustainable and equitable way for the Washington, D.C. region to grow and provide opportunities for all. We're quite pleased to be offering our strong support for this proposal. We are excited that we are going to add 13 inclusionary zoning permanently affordable units, affordable at 60 and 50% median family income, and an additional 29 units through this new tax abatement program at the 80% median family level. This is urgent that we get more housing in the pipeline because DC's housing production has dropped off dramatically in the last year or two. And so we want to move this proposal through as quickly as possible to ensure that we're going to be producing homes at affordable levels and at market rate levels, especially in this high opportunity neighborhood, to address future housing needs for our city. We recognize as others that Ward 3 has fallen far short of its equitable housing goals. And so this is an important contribution. This is really a rare opportunity to provide affordable homes 2 blocks from the Friendship Heights Metro Station. Beyond the benefit of affordable housing, we commend the design of the building and the sensitivity and quality of the design, responding to the surrounding lower blocks off of Wisconsin Avenue. And we also commend the ANC 3E agreement reached with the developer for a number of additional benefits. We would raise the question about the amount of parking provided here. DDOT noted that it's 3 times what is needed. We see that it is all on one level, which makes it a lot more economical to provide that. And we know that this is sort of a contested, is it too much? Is it too little? We would prefer to see less parking here and as a way to ensure that we're not cross-subsidizing that cost of parking across residents who don't own cars and aren't going to be renting a parking space. But all in all, we're very excited to support this project and want to see it move forward as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Court, for all your work that you all continually do. Let's see if we have any questions, colleagues. Any my colleagues? Okay. All right, if you can hold tight, Ms. Court, we may have some questions. Now, Michelle, I think Mrs. Skyboom. I messed that up. Skibo?
Yep, Skibo is correct.
Skibo, okay. You may begin.
Excellent. Thank you. Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to speak. We've heard an awful lot about this project, and it does have a significant number of benefits that it would bring to the neighborhood. I appreciate that you all have taken time to review the letter that a number of the immediate neighbors have submitted jointly to raise a number of our questions. If I were to condense it down, the questions that I have really stem from the height. And we've heard an awful lot about the 50-foot height of the building. But when you view the plans and the elevations that are shown, I think the way I see it, it looks like it's kind of obscuring the true clear height of the building. That's why we referenced 75 feet. If you look at the drawing as it shows down at the Garrison Street, from ground level to the clear point where you wouldn't run into the roof if you were flying, it seems to be roughly 75 feet, and that drops to about 60 feet at the Harrison end of the building. The question about a shadow study was raised roughly a year ago at the ANC meeting. And that's a particular concern to me as I'm directly across the street. And if I've interpreted the comments this evening regarding the shadow study, it sounds that one has not been done. And we were told this evening that there would be no impact except beginning at 3 p.m. in the winter. I'd like to know, could a shadow study be done? And I'd like to know what time the sun will set behind this 60 to 75 foot building. So that's one of the big questions that I have is what the true impact of such a tall building on a residential street will have.
Okay, Mrs. Skibo, I think, I'm getting feedback, maybe, I don't know if it's me, but was that in the letter? Because we do have a response that we've asked them to respond to the letter of the immediate neighbors. If that was there, we will all get that response. If that's okay, if that's okay, can we wait on that response?
No, so the response keeps highlighting the 50-foot measurement of the building, but that's measuring the way it's been presented, that's measuring from the center of the building to the parapet, but that is not representing the remaining 12 to 18 feet beyond the parapet.
Okay, I got you. And I got you. And also, the applicant, I'm gonna ask you to respond, Ms. Shiker. If you can respond, you don't have to do it now, but hold tight. You all can respond. Let me go to I'm being told people are having problems. Miss Fishman.
Hi, thank you. I'm happy for Jed to represent the questions we have from the neighborhood.
Okay, so you will give me your right to me. Mr. Shelley Rep.
6:02. So good evening, Commissioner Hood and Chair Hood and commissioners. My name is Shelley Rep. I'm testifying on behalf of the Committee of 100, where I am chair. I signed up as an undeclared for this application for the simple reason that there's positives and negatives in this proposal. So I'll start off with what's good about this proposal. What's good about this proposal is that Donahoe has worked with the city to secure tax abatement that allows them to provide 33% affordable housing on the site. And that, as Jed said earlier, he believes this is the first commitment the city has made under this proposal, at least the first one for a PUD. So that's a positive. Also a positive, as we've heard many people talk, many of the commissioners talk this evening or this afternoon, is that this is an attractive design that is compatible with the neighborhood. So I commend Jad and Torty Gallus for the work that they've done on this proposal. So that's what I see is the positives, or at least some of the positives. There's probably more. What could be better? And what we have asked for, and it's in my letter, is that we think there should be more affordable housing at the 60% median family income. What we have here is two affordable housing programs. First of all, there's the HANTA program, where a developer is compensated, basically paid to deliver affordable housing in high need areas. And as we've just said, that Donahoe has been able to secure this tax abatement. The under HANTA, one third of the units have to have an average have to be at an average of 80% of median family income. The second program, affordable housing program, is IZ. Under the IZ program, affordable units are provided by the developer, not subsidized by the city, developer out of its own resources. And here, there's two different formulas for IZ, but right now the Donahoe is providing the bare minimum affordable housing, a little slightly over 10% under the bonus density arm of the IZ formula. Once again, under IZ, the affordable units are basically sourced by the developer, not through the city. Under HANTA, affordable IZ still applies. The HANTA application specifically states that any housing units required under inclusionary zoning are counted toward meeting the 33% HANTA requirement. And that's what this proposal provides, is that the slightly more than 10% is included within the 33% HANTA requirement, which leads to, this is a PUD. This is not a matter of right. This is a PUD. IZ plus does not apply. However, under a PUD, the developer needs to provide amenities. One of the amenities that can be provided, and probably the preferred amenity to be provided, is more affordable housing than is required under matter of right. With respect to other amenities under this, I'll come back to that in a minute. With respect to other amenities, I know that it's been proffered that that Donahoe is gonna take down the tower, but as Jad said they need to take down the tower. First of all, there's no service on the tower right now. They need to take down the tower to go ahead with this project. So I think it's hard to claim that this is an amenity when they really need to do it in order to carry forth with this project. So once again, under the PUD rules, only affordable housing that exceeds matter of right development can be considered an amenity. Here, only the minimum IZ is being provided. We would suggest that, one standard here might be IZ plus, and the Office of the Attorney General showed in their chart that under IZ plus, there would need to be 20% affordability under the IZ program. I'm not saying you have to go all the way to 20%, but I think that should be more than the slightly more than 10%. So we suggest that the commission provide for raise, basically, as part of the required amenity package, raise the amount of affordable housing that's required under the IZ program, basically on the developer's nickel rather than the city's nickel. Finally, and as Chair Hood mentioned before, both the Fox 5 building itself and the Fox 5 parking lot, two separate lots, are owned by Donohue Development. And they've been owned by Donohue Development for years, for a number of years. We think that this should have been approached originally as a single PUD. And if it was a single PUD,
give us your closing thought. I know that's what
as a single PUD, I will. As a single PUD, that would have allowed for a stronger amenity package. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rapp. Again, I've asked for responses to that. I don't know if that's sufficient for you now, because I think you all, at least part of the letter, I think you all brought up some points that are at least worth examining or doing a little more discovery or hearing from the applicant. But let me first, and they may do it in rebuttal if we can get to that. Let me see if my colleagues have any questions or comments. And none. Okay, I'm missing one person. Jacob Van Leer.
He's on there. I see him at the bottom. He's on the bottom of my screen.
Not to interrupt, I live next to him. We briefly lost power here on the street. So he may need a moment for his Wi-Fi to reboot.
Okay.
Can folks hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go right ahead.
Okay, I'm on a hotspot on my phone. As I was texting Jed to say, think of the irony if right before they call on us we lose power, and of course that's exactly what happened. My apologies. I'm gonna keep my camera off just to try to maintain connectivity. So my name's Jake Van Leer. For the last 20 months, almost 2 years, my wife and I have lived on the 5100 block of 42nd Street, directly opposite the subject property. I heard a couple of mentions about the last minute nature of the letter that we adjacent neighbors had sent, and I certainly want to make clear that there wasn't of any intent. My wife and I haven't gotten any outreach, including any written notice of this hearing, which we of course are entitled to. So we'd love if in the future there's a way to give us appropriate notice of updates. Second, as folks have referenced, we submitted a detailed letter that gives the position of all the families that currently reside on this block, and we really appreciate the applicant and the commission's attention to the letter and thorough review of it. I just want to talk about a couple of things. First, just to say, I hope it's clear in our letter how strongly we support the thoughtful development of the property and how much we appreciate many of the proposed benefits that are already included in the plan. We send the letter to raise some very specific thoughts and concerns and honest questions that we had. As Jed mentioned, the main concern that we note is the height of the building. The comp plan talks about in Friendship Heights, insisting that new development along Wisconsin Avenue, that there's the scale and height of that development on the corridor should transition appropriately to nearby single-family homes. The proposed structure is very tall. As others have mentioned, application claims that the building is 50 feet, but that's just, regardless of how it's measured in a zoning or a legal perspective, it's very misleading as a layperson to look at that. Mr. Donahoe mentioned that the building next to it is a 3-story building. If that's a 3-story building, because that's the number of floors that you can see above the ground of that building on Garrison Street, this is a 75-foot building. And I note as well that nobody from the applicant has denied the fact that from the lowest exposed point to the highest exposed point of the building, that's how tall this building is. Just from a real life perspective, that those parts of the building, the penthouse, the residential and mechanical penthouses, the lobby, they exist. The design itself, therefore, is comparable to the pretty massive residences at Matza building that face directly onto Wisconsin's corridor. We have a photo there showing that the same number of floors, primary residential floors, a lobby level, a setback back penthouse, etc. And notably, the adjacent property here at 5101 Wisconsin, which is my understanding not being redeveloped by the same folks, is only a 5-story building. Or if you take out the lobby level and the top level, you could say it's a 3-story building. But whatever it is, it's less, however you measure it, substantially less than what this proposal has, which suggests that this is actually a transition upward from the main corridor, at least on Garrison. But as we explained in the letter, we're super grateful, extremely grateful for the use of the mixed material, the marginally shorter stacked flats on 42nd. We appreciate that. But I think we also try to explain why, from our understanding of prior proposals in other areas that are similarly situated, that can't alone suffice to bring it in harmony with the comp plan. So, we pointed to some of the earlier proposals for this development that showed only a 5-story structure, 3-story stacked flats on 42nd. And I think we just wanted to see if the commission was willing to ask what those additional stories are adding in terms of benefits that are, then requiring these trade-offs with other priorities of the comp plan. We note that based on the secondhand materials I was able to get my hands on, the eliminating a floor takes away maybe 25 units. Eliminating one floor of the stacked flats in front to bring it back to that original proposal might reduce 8 units, 2 affordable housing units or something like that. And it's hard to say that disrupts plan-wide goals when Donahoe alone has over 500 units across other buildings, not including this one, under development right now in the same neighborhood. And there are literally thousands of units under development in Friendship Heights right now. So we just wondered whether the commission was able to ensure that, that Donahoe had met the burden of proving those sacrifices to the plan's priorities. Like I said, I appreciate the attention to the other priorities and questions we had asked in our letter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me look at my colleagues and see. First, Michelle, can we find out? No, let me ask you, Mr. Jacob Van Leer. Are you within 200 feet?
I could trip and fall into the wall in that building. I don't want to say that I don't want to say there's anything intentional. It may be that they're going to the wrong person because this project has been going on for 7 years and we only moved here 2 years ago.
So okay, I'm going somewhere else to this. Ms. Shaker and Mr. Corn, can you all submit or tell me where it is in the submission so I can go right to it? I want to see if Mr. Van Leer's name is on the 200-foot list that went out. We don't have to do that right now. We don't have to do that right now. Just let me know where it is and exhibit one line.
We obtain the list from the Office of Tax and Revenue. We do not put this list together. So it is based on the district records. We obtained the list the first time before we submitted the notice of intent to all the property owners and to the ANC. And then because there had been some time between that period of time, we actually obtained a new list right before we filed our pre-hearing submission, which would allow the most up-to-date information to go for the hearing to go out to the 200-foot property owners list. We will let you know, Mr. Cohen's finding out exactly where that is. But again, Chairman Hood, we do not prepare that. We obtain that from the district. So it is based on the district's records, and they draw the 200-foot line based on the lots.
So, Ms. Shaker, thank you. I'm very well aware of that. I'm very well aware of the 200 feet. I just wanted to know if his name was on the list. That's all I was trying to figure out.
I believe that his wife, our partner, Melanie Bornstein, is on the list at that address.
Mr. Van Ley, do you know
That's
Ms.
my wife.
Bornstein?
Okay,
Okay, so you all got
so-
notes. Okay, let me go to the next question. Any other questions? So let me say this, Mr. Van Ley, you all got notice. Because that's, now you might not have noticed it, you might have thrown it away, but I'm always concerned when people tell me they don't get notice. But according to the records of the district government, you all had notice. And I'm not.
Right. No, I just say I know quite well from talking with Jed Skibo next door when he gets notice of things and I don't. And this was one of those situations, I think.
So
Not saying there's anything intentional there, but just if there's any way to get a little asterisk next to my name and the next hearing that comes around, we can get stuff sent, that would be fantastic.
I just was trying to make sure that we have dotted all our I's across our T's. And I do know sometimes things happen. So, but if Mr. Skibo got it and you didn't, we apologize.
We do apologize, but there is also the posting on the property, which we see in the record. I'm sorry that Mr. Van Leer did not see that posting of the property.
Okay.
Chairman Hood, if I may,
Yes.
her notice was returned.
Okay.
If that
So
is her name, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
May
Yeah,
I?
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you. So the notice was returned.
It was, if that is the name, Melanie A. Borenstein, 770 P Street Northwest, apartment 419. It was returned.
And that would be why it's the apartment that's listed is not where we live. We live on the 1500 block of 42nd Street.
Yeah, it says that the forwarding time has expired.
Understood.
So that's the address with tax and revenue. You need to check it.
And apologies. I don't have to take up the time of the commission to deal with this issue. If we can reach out to the Office of Tax and Revenue to try to figure out why the wrong address is there. Apologies.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to go, Mr. Van Leer, because I know this city does all it can to give notice. I'm dealing with something else in my neighborhood about notice. So I get it. I appreciate what the city does, and let's just make sure we have our stuff correct. And we again apologize, but the vice chair is right. There's also there are other ways to be properly noticed as well, which is by law. So we'll leave it like that for now. Any questions of this panel? Anybody? In the panel, I'm talking about from Ms. Court, Mr. Rep. Any questions?
Thank you each for your testimony.
All right, thank you all for your testimony. And then I will say, Mr. Rep, we asked for some questions. I'm not sure if they're going to respond in rebuttal. If they have rebuttal, if not, we have asked, the commission has asked for some things to clarify. Some, not your whole letter, but some of the letter. I want some responses to, especially with the two programs and everything that you mentioned. So, all right, do we have the ANC commissioner yet, Michelle?
Oh, yes. He was here earlier. Let me see. Did he leave? Mr. Quinn, he was up. He's actually up.
Okay,
Mr. Quinn is up.
Mr. Quinn, I know you missed a few things, but I wanted to let you do your report. And if you had any questions, I don't know if you've heard anything, but if you had any questions of anyone, hopefully they're still here, you can ask. Mr. Quinn, you can go right ahead. I can see you, but I can't hear you right now.
Yeah, he's unmuted, but we can't hear, so he might need to change his microphone settings.
Okay. Can you change your microphone settings? Don't ask me or Vice Chair Miller. There you go. I heard something.
Okay.
There you go.
So what I was saying is I was apologizing for missing my earlier appointment. My wife was held up by the weather and I had to get a prescription for one of my children urgently refilled. So I apologize for missing the earlier calling. So good afternoon, members of the Zoning Commission. My name is Tom Quinn. I'm an advisory neighborhood commissioner representing single member district 3E04, which covers both sides of Friendship Heights along Wisconsin Avenue from Harrison Street north to Western Avenue. But this project is actually in Commissioner John Bender's district, but I am testifying on behalf of ANC 3E today. Oh, I apologize. I have the wrong testimony up. Hang on. Apologies. All right. As this commission is well aware from our many appearances, especially in the last year, ANC 3E has long advocated for and sought from applicants affordable units and development projects exceeding the minimum required. And in this instance, we are proud that out of this application, our ANC will be hosting the first, at least the first Honta project in the district that we are aware of. Mr. Donahoe went into great detail about all the amenities in the project, so I won't completely revisit those. But I think from our perspective, the most important benefit is converting what is currently essentially a surface parking lot surrounded by an imposing brick wall immediately adjacent to the sidewalk, capped by the second tallest structure in the district, and replacing it with an attractive residential project that we believe is the appropriate scale to transition between the single-family homes on the east side of 42nd Street to the higher density buildings on Wisconsin Avenue. We believe replacing the surface parking lot with the myriad green building features of this project, which include a green roof and hopefully a gas-free building, is an important step for our neighborhood. And to be able to do that while adding badly needed affordable and market rate housing is a win-win. And consistent with other projects, our ANC has supported this project also includes proximate public space improvements in the form of the publicly accessible bocce courts a block away, which are something we currently have none of in our community, and the bulb outs at 42nd and Garrison. The applicant is working with the ANC and DDOT to deliver, which will, if built to DDOT standards, include stormwater retention features and be another green component of this project. As in the case of previous projects where we have negotiated additional affordable components, we are strongly supportive of the 2 3-bedroom units in the IZ program at the 50% and 60% IZ level, which we believe will enable 2 families to live in our resource and transit-rich neighborhood who otherwise would not have been able to. We also appreciate the inclusion of 2 fully accessible units built to ANSI-A, which are ADA standard units. The applicant has embodied the referenced amenities, among many others, in a memorandum of understanding that we have submitted to the record along with our formal resolution. And we respectfully ask the Zoning Commission to embody the terms of the MOU in any ZC order regarding this matter. ANC 3E enthusiastically supports this project, which we believe will enhance our neighborhood in the district, and we urge you to support it as well. I'm happy to answer any questions about the process by which we came to unanimously support this project.
Thank you, Commissioner Quinn. Let's see if we have any questions. My colleagues, any questions of Commissioner Quinn? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you, Commissioner Quinn, of all the work that you all do, continually do in your area. Thank you, and across the city. Ms. Scheiker, Mr. Corn, do you all have any questions of Mr. Quinn? Commissioner Quinn?
We do not. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you again, Commissioner Quinn. All right, Michelle, I think we've finished, right?
Unless Mr. Quinn, he didn't have any questions. I think I heard him say he had no cross from anybody.
Yeah, I'd asked him, did he have
You
any
did
questions?
ask him. So then, yes, you are correct. Rebuttal, closing.
Okay. Okay, do y'all have any rebuttal or we close?
Chairman Hood, yes, just a couple of points. I'd like just to, reiterate that IZ Plus does not apply to PUDs, specifically so that applicants can go work with the community to come up with a bundle of public benefits and amenities that satisfy various needs. And as Ms. Elliott testified, looking in this case with the benefits, the amenities, the advancement of the many policies of the district, those substantially outweigh the development incentives and flexibilities that are requested with this PUD. So we do believe that we meet that burden of proof. With respect to the questions that were asked about the height, I believe that Ms. Alexander would like to pull up sheet A06, We just, again, certainly not doing anything that's not standard. Building height measuring points are identified in the zoning regulations. We do establish those at the midpoint. That means that a building can get taller or shorter based on its zoning height. And I think that if we show that the sheet A06, Ms. Alexander could maybe make 1 or 2 points about that, but it really does clearly show the heights for everyone involved. And we, so Ms. Alexander, I'll let you say a couple of sentences and then I'll move on to my closing.
Sure, yes. Hopefully you can hear me over the lightning and rain. So the top image here does show that little bullseye right in the center. That's the building height measuring point in the middle of the frontage of our building at the street. This is a section, obviously, but it shows you how it's in the middle. As you go down the hill, the building is a little taller. As you go up the hill, it is a little shorter. The balance is about 50 feet, but that is how you measure, as you guys know, how you measure height in the district. It also does identify on the left-hand side there how the penthouse is set back. In that side, it's 18 feet. As I went through on the northern side, it's even greater. And on the eastern side of facing the homes, it's even more. Sorry. Thunder. While I completely understand if you were flying like a bird straight, you would hit it. The way the height is perceived, as was shown in the perspective, since it is set back, it is set back for a reason, and why it was designed that way, so that it is less of a apparent height. So we are only proposing to have a 12-foot high penthouse for the majority of our penthouse. We are showing a mechanical zone that goes up to that 18-foot for our override of our elevator overrides and for any mechanical equipment, which we do not believe will be nearly as large as what we're showing here. We're just allowing ourselves that flexibility until we get to a point where we can design all the way through with mechanical and determine the true amount we need for that mechanical zone. And then just on the bottom image quickly, that just shows the 5151 on the left-hand side. So our penthouse is lower than its penthouse, and our measuring point is lower than its building height measuring point. So it is not a true statement to say that our building is taller than 5151. Thank you.
And with that, Commissioner Hood, members of the commission, we do believe that based on our testimony and the reports of the district agencies and the strong support of the ANC, we believe that the application meets the standard of review for the PUD and map amendment. And while we understand we do have some documentation to submit in the record of the many topics that we talked about today, we would ask for the commission to take to consider taking proposed action at its earliest convenience to allow the project to continue to move forward while we continue to document this information. Thank you so much. We appreciate your consideration.
Okay, thank you, guys. I think we have a number of issues. We can either move forward tonight or we can wait to call and set up. Even if I take proposed, I don't have a problem, and we've done this, stopping it final. But I want to leave it up to my colleagues on this. I know the weather is making us push, but I want us to be thoughtful as we continue to move. And I believe some of the submissions we have could or may not possibly change our minds. I don't know, but I wanted to see some of it. And I do know that this has an abundance amount of support. So that's kind of what I'm hearing. But let me hear from others and see how you all want to proceed. I can go either way. Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to take proposed action tonight. As you said, that doesn't preclude us from having a change of point of view, final action, but there are a number of benefits. And as you noted, a number of letters in support, as well as a number of agencies, district agencies that have also recommend approval.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes, I agree. We have gotten a lot of information this evening, and I know we're going to receive a few other pieces that will be added to the record. However, I really do feel that what questions there were answered to my satisfaction, and that this is an important project to add housing and 33%, which is a remarkable number of lower than market rate housing. I think that this is a project we should definitely support, and I would be happy to take proposed action tonight, again, with the caveat, as Commissioner Imamura mentioned, that, and Chair Hood mentioned that, if we get additional information in the record, that we can reopen a conversation. But really, everything I've heard, this is a very, very laudable project with a lot of support. And I think we should take proposed action.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Stidham?
I'm prepared to take proposed action tonight.
And Vice Chair Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah. Thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I agree with my colleagues.
Okay, I have no problem moving forward. Commissioner Imamura, could you make a motion?
I'd be glad to, Mr. Chairman. I move that the zoning commission take proposed action for case number 24-12, Harrison, Wisconsin owner LLC, consolidated PUD and related map amendment at square 1666, lots 809 and 810 at 4201 Garrison Street Northwest, and ask for a second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion? Not hearing it. Michelle, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes, and I'm not turning on my camera because I am losing connectivity here. Commissioner Imamura,
Yes.
Commissioner Stidham,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
The vote is 5-0 to approve proposed action in zoning commission case number 24-12. Commissioner Imamura moving that, and as we know, and Commissioner Stidham seconding. Do you want me to set some dates for the items?
Quickly, because I don't like to play with lights.
Okay. All right. So if we could have the applicant make their submissions, can you do that, Ms. Scheiker, by the 21st?
Yes, we can do that with our BAFO first part of our BAFO submission as well.
Okay, so if you can get those additional submissions by the 21st, and the ANC, if they choose to do so, can respond by the 28th. And then, of course, you'll go through the what we call our proffering conditions process. And we'll put this on probably for the first meeting in September for final action. Thank you.
Okay, anything else, anyone?
Thank you.
Thank you all for all your hard work and participation in this case tonight. Looking forward to getting the additional information for our final action. The zoning commission will meet again July the 21st on these same platforms. You all have a great evening. Have a safe night.
I think that we meet on,
Did I get it wrong date?
are we not meeting Thursday? Did we cancel that
Thursday?
one?
What's Thursday's date? Thursday's date? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Meet July 17th.
Yes, okay.
The lightning makes me move faster.
I'm back from vacation. You're confusing me.
Yeah, July 17th. I'm sorry. I hope.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Good night.